What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you with more Danmachi. Now, today we're going to be talking about Familia Rush. We've talked about this quite a bit in the past. We've had Familia Rushes, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday when we were getting all the news and stuff like that. But I'm going to cover this in a little bit more detail, and I'm going to kind of go over this because we do have new players in the game, people that may not know how this event works. Of course, you do have to be part of a Familia to partake, so if you're not part of a Familia, make sure you take care of that before 10 p.m. If you are part of a Familia and you want to switch, don't leave your Familia yet. A, it takes 24 hours for you to become part of a new one because there's, that cooldown period. B, if you don't want to miss out on these rewards, simply put. If you're not part of a Familia, you will not be able to do it. Just don't miss out on rewards. That's that simple. So, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about what we're going to have to do in this event. Now, if you have any questions about Familia, formation, all that, put them in the description down below. We'll do our best to try to cover that before the event kicks off, but realistically, you probably should have taken care of that before this. Either way, and there will always be Familia events. It's never too late to join a Familia, but it's better to act with a certain amount of prominence. So let's go ahead and jump in here. Basically, if you've never done a Familia Rush before, there's 3 stages. Each stage is going to have a selection of enemies. Some of them, you're going to use AoEs. Like in this case, you got 5 enemies there with 5 individual life bars. Usually, using a unit that does foes plural, foes damage, in other words, an AoE, area of effect unit, is going to be better in these situations. You're not going to be able to beat them all in one go. You're just basically trying to get out the maximum amount of damage possible so that your team can basically beat this, raid system, raid bosses, for lack of a better way to put it. So think of these guys like a mid-boss before you get to the big dog, and we're going to get to him in a moment. Now, how do you fight this unit? Well, these are Crimson Scissors. They are Aquas, like I pretty much said yesterday. They will perform fire magic attacks and physical attacks with no element. So you need to make sure that you have not only magic resistance, but physical resistance. A flame coat wouldn't be a bad option here, but I think breastplates are probably going to be a little bit better since it is magic and physical. But a flame coat would be pretty good. Unleashes skills which apply stun. So you do want to have some kind of stun resistance on your team. Now, I like to use the stun anklets, but that's because, I kind of have been playing the game for, 2.5 years now? So I've got plenty of those things lined up. If you don't have those, there are plenty of assists that do anti-stun effects, I guess, on the team. In fact, there's some 3-stars. We've covered them before. If you want to see the full list, you can join the Discords down below. Either one of the Discords, preferably join both, but either one of the Discords down there, we do have full lists of, all the 3-star units that do ailment resistances, all the other units, and we've got like a full lineup of what types of units you want to use for these types of situations. So come join the Discords, guys, if you need more in-depth information on that. Unfortunately, it's just too much to cover in one video, but all that information is at your disposal in the Discords. Now, not only do they stun, they unleash a guard rate raising skill. So all these units are going to raise their own guard rate, and they unleash a critical rate rising skill. So in other words, they're going to attack you with critical. So you need to make sure you're kind of knocking down the guard rate and the critical rate. That's a rare thing to do on a foe, more than like in Wargame. So it's a rare skill. I don't know who I'd use for that, but I think we got one recently that does that. Maybe it's the new Eyes, I think, is the one that does that. Don't recollect right off the top of my head, to be completely honest. But we'll get to that here in a moment. So the resistances on these units are fire and wind. So you got to make sure you avoid using fire units and wind units. They are resistant 40%. So that means you're basically going to do almost no damage with a fire or wind unit, no matter how much you debuff. Earth, Thunder, Light, and Dark are all 0%. They're okay candidates, but what you really want to do is you want to use a water unit. Water resistance is down 40%. So use a water unit. Now, physical resistance is down 20%. Magic resistance is up 40%. I think that's different than the information we got yesterday. So physical water units, and preferably one that does that removes guard and critical rates, or at least debuffs guard and critical rates a decent amount, that's going to help out a lot. So make sure you're paying close attention to that. Now, do bear in mind, you're going to have multiple rounds that you're going to face these. You're going to fight these foes, then you're going to fight enemy number 2, and then enemy number 3. And then it's going to cycle back around. And each time that raid boss levels up. So you will face enemy number 1 a multitude of times. Every single time they do, that guard rate and that critical rate is going to become harder and harder and harder to take care of. So make sure you're taking care of that absolutely immediately the first time, and then basically set your team, save your team, so you can take care of that. You will want to take care of guard rate and critical rate if you get several turns into this. First turn is going to be no big deal. But by the end, if you have a Familia that's going to be able to beat these several times over, those are start getting dangerous. So do carefully consider taking advantage of that. I'll probably cover each one of those teams in their own separate videos. I'm going to try at least. But yeah, there is a certain amount of team building involved in this. So just know that you got to use, you should be using a water physical unit with an anti-stun element of some sort, and that can debuff, guard, and critical, or remove those altogether. Best thing you can do for your team. Now that's Familia Rush enemy number 1. Once all 5 of those units are defeated, that's why I say use AoEs, because they're gonna do more damage overall to all 5. You're gonna beat them and move into enemy number 2. Now enemy number 2 is an insect type, so using an insect killer here would be better. Stinger Beetles. Thunder magic attack. Unleashes skills which apply stuns. So once again, stuns are there. You're going to have to use anti-stun, either be it the anklet or an assist that does stun, resistance. Unleashes strength and agility raising skills on themselves. Unleashes a skill which decreases all allies' strength and magic. So you really want to try to get rid of their buffs and the debuffs on yourself. So really consider the build on that. Now, they do magic damage. So using something that specifically guards against magic attacks would be way better than just kind of like a generic item. I know I kind of default to breastplates personally a lot of times because they're very good, but it really is only a guard rate. It's not specific to magic or physical or anything like that, and those resistances are going to be way better. So use an item that is going to resist magic, and use a unit that is going to be able to, if not remove their strength and agility buffs, at least decrease them a little bit, and is going to be able to either remove the strength and magic debuffs on yourselves, or once again decrease it enough. Usually those skills are 3 turn, so if you use someone like the Winter Haruhime, it's not the worst option in history, but she's not a great choice for this team, and I'll go into why that's the case here in a minute. But she's going to be good for removing some of those. Now, Thunder Resist and Dark Resist are up. Thunder Resist up 30%, Dark Resist is up 20%. So do not use Thunder, do not use Dark. Fire, Wind, and Water are all 0%. Once again, remember, Water being that Winter Haruhime. While she's good at removing the other stuff, the little bit of damage she does isn't really going to be relevant. Light Resist is down 20%, so Light would be really good, and Earth Resist is down 50%. That'd be especially good. Physical Resist is 0, Magic Resist is down 20. So, if you can use an AoE, Earth, Magic, you're going to be producing all kinds of insane damage. There might even be a benefit to using single target. I've really got to sit down and math it out. Basically, the long and the short of it is, if you have a Earth Magic unit that can do single target damage that's off the chain, or even light, that could do damage that's off the chain, in the, I'd say north of 1.5 million. I'd say if you're hitting with one unit for 2 million or better, you're probably going to be doing better with that unit in the single target aspect than you will with an AoE, because most of your AoEs are going to hit for about 500k. But if you have an AoE, they can hit for 800-900k. 100% do that. Just do simple math here, guys. If you have an AoE that can hit really, really, really hard, absolutely use that unit. If you don't, and you have a single target that can hit like a freaking truck, use that unit. The goal is simply to take out these units as fast as humanly possible. Now, that said, do bear in mind, you can do some team building, and we'll do some tonight on the stream. You can build some teams, and you could do practice modes and really hone those skills. Now, the only downside is you can only do practice modes when that enemy is up. I kind of wish Danmemo would give you the option to pick an enemy during your practice mode, but yeah, it's not quite come to the game yet. But nonetheless, use your practice modes, hone a team, really do this. And if you want an honest opinion here, guys, never, ever, ever in these events use an auto run. You need to manually run this because auto runs never buff themselves. They don't remove debuffs. They don't debuff the enemy as much. Auto runs are really just not the right place to go. You need to do manual runs on this. You need to go through it. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I really want to do a video on each one of these bosses and really cover them. I'll see if I can manage that. So we'll try to do that. Okay. It says down here they will inflict stun, so try countering with an anklet. Like I said before, if you don't have an anklet, there are plenty of assists to use. Be sure to bring plenty of characters with the Insect Killer. Use characters like the new Osfi to counter strength and magic debuffs. So I did say I think that Osfi is probably, I think I overrated her quite a bit yesterday. If you don't have Osfi, don't worry about it. There are other units. They're just trying to sell you on the new unit, pretty much. Okay, that's enemy number 2. Enemy number 3. This is a single target. And remember, 1 and 2 are generally good for AoEs. 2 kind of gets stuck somewhere in the middle, where it depends upon what the units you have. But 3 will always be single target. You need to use single target units because it's just the 1. And this is back to an Aqua Killer. So 1 is an Aqua type, 2 is an Insect type, 3 is back to an Aqua type. So you got to use an Aqua Killer here. He will unleash Thunder Magic Attack, Water Magic Attack, and Physical Attack with no elements. So you really, really, really got to use a good, like, all-round, like, once again, like I said before, breastplates would be great here because there's multiple elements, multiple different types of attacks. You gotta be careful. Unleash a skill which decreases all allies' endurance. Endurance has a number of stats that it works on. It can affect penetration rate. It can affect critical rate. I believe it can even affect counter. I don't recollect that one specifically, but so if you can remove the endurance, definitely do so. If you just want to buff out of it, that is also a tactic. But do bear in mind that endurance debuff will remove some of your ability to produce damage by a certain percent. And it's kind of like a die roll. Because remember, with critical and penetration, either it happens or it doesn't. All he's doing is reducing your ability to get some of that stuff. Fire and dark resist are up 30%. Water resistance up 40%. So do not use fire, do not use dark, and do not use water. Earth, wind, and thunder is 0. Light is down 60%. So single target, light units are going to be the best. Physical resist is up 30%. So do not use physical. You want to use magic. Magic is 0. So a single target, light, magic unit would be absolutely phenomenal. We'll get to that here in a second. There's a unit that I invested in heavily that is going to pay out big time here. It says they will inflict slow, so try countering with an anklet. I don't worry so much about slow. Slow's not something I'm terribly concerned about. I'm going to be honest. You could try that, but it just means he's going to get his damage off and his debuffs off before you can. I'm not. Maybe later game, that's a concern, but early game, I'm not losing sleep over that. Now, stack your party with light damage to take advantage of the enemy's resistance. Use Summer Color Seer, Faithful Formal Seer, that's a tongue twister, to power up characters to a powerful single target light damage attack such as Bloom Lena or Ocean Virtue Harahime. We talked about those units in the past. Great units for this fight. Great units for this fight. So take advantage of that, guys. Go build some really, really, really stellar teams. Now, if you need Aqua Killers, we got a bunch of them recently in the game. And big shout out, oh my goodness, what was the name of the person over on the Reddit who dropped this? I want to make sure I give the right kudos to the right people. Japan Blank Space, I believe, is the one. Posted this over on the Reddit. Dude, thank you so much for that. Congrats for, this is big help to the community. But here are your Aqua Killers. So really consider, remember, Bloom Lena down there. I spent a lot of time going after her. So plan your attacks accordingly. you can go ahead and screenshot this, take advantage of the slide. Once again, this is in the Discords as well. So join the Discords. It's a great place to get information on these things beyond the stuff we talk about in these videos. There's lots of people there to help you out with team building and things like that. But for now, that'll be my video, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Good luck on your Familia Rush runs. Let me know if these videos are actually helping you guys out by hitting that old thumbs up button. Other than that, guys, hopefully I'll catch you guys tonight for the live stream, and try to have one more thing tonight, but it's gonna be a Dokkan thing. So if you enjoy Dokkan, maybe stay tuned. Maybe we'll have something for you here shortly. We haven't done it in a while, so I really need to get back to it. So either way, stay tuned. Live stream at 10 Eastern.